So let's come and stand on our mat, and we can just stand with the feet hip width apart. We'll roll the shoulders back and release the arms down. Keep a little tone in the belly, a little light lift in the chest. And then let's just feel into the breath here. So we can feel in to the body. And as our first yoga posture, presumably, unless you've been doing some yoga previous to this class, as our first posture, we really want to use this as a it's a setting an intention really for our practice, a commitment. This is what we make here in our practice, to be within this completely. So we might be playing with a little bit of gentle movement around the body as we find the breath here. Allowing the arms to release, allowing a light lift up through the midline, a little tone in the belly. And then what we feel into this is our arrival in our practice, on our mat, in this space. But it's an arrival and an occupation of this here. So we don't sort of pop our head in and then dip back out. This is what we want to do. We want to take up residence in our practice for the next 45 minutes. So how do we stay here? Well, we stay here through attention, through awareness, through breath, centered awareness, embodiment, heart-centered awareness, and refinement. So the refinement we apply can be to our posture, checking our alignment, not as a means to be uptight about our alignment, but as a means to apply care into our practice. As we place the body, we really feel into that placement as an act of devotion, bhakti yoga, that we are giving ourselves so completely here and now. So let's take another slow deep breath here. Enjoy the release with the exhalation. Have a little bit of a shake out here, a little bit of a shimmy out, whatever you need, so we can start to wake up the whole body. If we let the whole body shake, there's no part of the body that's not actually being moved by this, so it can be quite a sort of subtle action, but we can feel that the action ripples through everywhere. And then we come back to align in stillness and just notice what that's done for us. Maybe we can even feel that on an energetic level, on a pranic level, that we've sort of started to wake the body up. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of arm movement. Now check your alignment of your feet again, and you might want to take the feet wider. You can re-step out the feet, but we're lining up down through the midline of your feet. And then we're going to just swing the arms back and forth. So as we swing the arms back and forth, what we can do is allow the arms to perhaps come behind us. So the hands may just lightly fall in towards the back of the neck, the upper back, and the arms can swing back. But you don't have to go all the way up and back if you've got any shoulder issues that might prevent that, or perhaps it's just a little bit early in our practice for us to go all the way to that position. But let's feel into it. Now you might find that there are other movements in the body that the body might naturally kind of sway in this as well. Just let yourself feel into the movement as it comes, and feel into the breath as it comes with this. So there's a tendency for the breath to fall into a rhythm, and that's what we want. We want absolute unity between our body and breath. This is really important in our practice because it is a yoga practice. Yoga is, of course, defined as unity. So we can find that in the movement, in the breath, in our awareness, in our embodiment of our body, in our embodiment of the space within which we reside. And then when you're ready, we'll release the arms. And again, we'll continue to feel into that unity of all qualities of experience here right now. The breath is steady and easeful. The heart is open, light. Welcoming. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit more movement of the arms because it's a useful way to loosen up around the shoulder joint. So again, feel free to adjust your posture. If you want to go a little bit wider with the feet, you can, or a little bit narrower. Wider is normally a little bit more stable for this, so play around. Sometimes we get a little bit stuck through the feet, so realign the feet, and then this time we're going to cross the arms in front of the body. So we're going to go for a swing again and let the arms cross, and if you're tuned in, you can let the arms change the cross of the arms, but it doesn't actually matter if you don't do that, but we can just let the arms swing back and forth, that's it. And there's a little lift up into the elbows as the arms cross. So feel that little lift in front of you. So we're just getting into further movement across the shoulders, across the upper arms and the upper back. And again, feel into that unity of flow, of the movement, of the breath, of our awareness. Okay, well done. Let's release this when you're ready. Again, let the arms hang. Be aware of what we feel here. We can notice the sensations there as the body releases. Maybe we'll feel it all the way down to the hands and fingers. And we can notice that these sensations, these feelings in the body, as all feelings and experiences in the body are fluctuations that pass through. There's nothing ultimately that we can cling to as a permanent physical experience. Okay, now let's bring our feet in towards each other for a moment. Again, have a little play, a little wiggle out. We're going to raise our arms up above our head. We're going to tone the belly, we're going to lift the chest, and we're going to hinge into Utkatasana. So that means we are going to hinge from our ankles, our knees and our hips. I'll turn to the side so you can see. So the body tilts forwards with the pelvis. Okay, and then when we come into this position, we're then going to again keep this stability through the core area. So tone in the belly, lift up into the chest, engagement of the lower back muscles. And then we're going to play with a little movement, a little circling around of the arms here. So we can feel that we're really stable through the legs and through the torso. There will be some movement through the back muscles as we swing the arms around. So we're not going to be too vigorous here, because it's a little stronger in this position. And we'll just feel into the flow of the breath again. Okay, let's bring it back to the center when you're ready. Raise your arms up. Take another little bounce through. Maybe we can sit down a little lower. Maybe we can take some deeper breaths. You can take your arms out wider and wider still and wider still. Shoulder blades engaged into the back ribs. Okay. Let's bring the arms down. Let's push into the feet. Let's come up. Take a breath or two. Have a little shake out if you need to. And we'll take the feet a little wider again. So we'll just spend a little bit of time letting the breath settle. So we may be noticing the releasing sensations in the body. Perhaps we've noticed from that action, because it's a little more physically strong, that we may notice that our breath changed to support that work, that our heart rate changed to support that work. So we can observe as the body comes back to its own equilibrium here. So we can feel that the body always wants to return to this calm space. It always wants to bring itself. If we leave it alone, it will come to a state that is settled, that is easeful. It will experience the sthira sukham asanam, the steadiness and ease in our posture, in our seat. But sometimes to appreciate that steadiness and ease, we need to feel away from that, not steadiness and ease. We can feel that in any position, even moving, but sometimes we need to feel into the flow and the movement in order to be able to offer ourselves into stillness completely. Okay, we're going to take another little arm swinging action. Now you can feel, before we do this, so you can just take a little gentle turn, and as you do this I want you to just lift up your toes. So lift up the balls of the feet as well. So you lift up onto the back of the heel, and you'll notice as you turn that your feet might start to externally rotate. So we're just going to find that position that the feet want to naturally land in before we come into a more swingy type action. So you place the feet like that. They'll find their own position. So they often want to be turned out for this because we're going into a bigger rotation. So, and then when you're ready, allowing the knees to bend into this, we can then rotate. So we can swing the arms around. So we swing the knee of the leg that we're turning away from, and then re-extend. Okay, so that's it. And you can allow yourself to, you can give yourself a bit of a pat on the back or on the buttocks. So you can let the arms swing in and pat your body, that's okay. So these little patting actions can be another form of releasing tension in the body. And again, feel into that rhythm of breath with this. You can slow it down anytime you need to and come and be still if you get any dizziness, or you just find that the body wants to be still. That's fine. Okay, we will bring it to the center now. So we'll come on pause. We'll step the feet so they're hip width apart, so we're nice and stable. They're lined up through the midline. We're going to release our arms down. We're going to tone the belly. We're going to lift the chest. And we're going to feel into the breath. Feel into the heart center. And feel into this. Feel into that just little quietness that's here. These little moments that we have in between our more active actions can be those little places of profound stillness, nirodha. And that stillness is, one of the ways we define yoga. The fluctuations in our heart mind are stilled or stop. So we can have these little stopping moments. And they might be brief. They might be more of a glimpse, than a sort of permanent experience, but even a little glimpse of stillness can have a profound effect. Okay, we're going to take a wide stride now. We can have a brick block, which we may or may not use. We're going to come into Trikonasana. So it's nice to have a brick block for support. So we're going to take a good generous stride. I'm going to pop that brick block behind our right leg. So we can have our feet forwards. We can rise up, deepening the feet into the floor, feeding that lift through the legs, feeding that lift through the midline of the body, keeping a little tone in the belly there, a little lightness in the chest there. Okay, and then turning your left toes in, lifting up the heel and extending that heel back so you feel like you lengthen out the underside of the foot to place that foot back. And you can feel, if you lift and lower that heel a few times, how it brings a kind of stability to this leg. We can sort of feel that we're really placed. Then we'll turn the front foot and leg out completely, and we can have a heel to instep alignment. We want to make sure we've still got a generous stride here. So if your stride has ended up quite short, you can go a little bit wider, but it should feel like we're in control of our stride. You know, if we go really wide, it feels unstable. So you know where you feel stable in this. Okay, let's feel into our drawing of the body around towards the long side of the mat rather than just positioning the body there. Let's have a little wiggle of the hips. So you can let the hips kind of tip from side to side and feel that you are shimmying your way around to face towards the long side of the mat. So we're encouraging some freedom around the soft tissue of the pelvis area and the top of the thighs. We're going to tone the belly. We're going to lift up through the chest, through the midline of the body to the crown of the head and up. I'm going to raise up that right arm, placing the left hand on the hip, deepening the feet into the floor and lifting. And we can feel into a little bit of movement here. There might even be a little sway of the body from side to side as we keep that support of the belly. But we're going to let ourselves really turn from this front thigh crease. Okay, so that's going to deepen in. It's going to pull back, push back rather, towards the back leg. So let's feel that push back of the hip crease towards the back leg, and then we extend down. Hand can either come to our brick or onto the shin. I recommend that you have palm contact with either shin or block, because that gives us some stability and it allows us to not just broaden across the chest but lengthen through the torso. If we let the hand hang, which sometimes is taught in yoga classes, we tend to hold ourselves there by gripping around the lower back muscles. Okay, so this takes out the gripping. We lengthen, we breathe, and we can either keep the hand on the hip and just enjoy that openness across the chest, that lift through the body, or we might raise that top arm up, but you can feel into what feels right for you. Any movement that's required here is okay. If raising your top arm up makes you stiff in the neck, you might either return the hand to the hip, or you might play with a little bit of movement. And again, those little movements can loosen up the soft tissue. You look forwards or you look up towards the top hand, or even looking towards the front foot, but don't let the chest roll forwards if you take that action. Okay, let's have another slow deep breath here. Enjoy your Trikonasana. It's a wonderful posture. And we'll bring that top hand down. We're going to bend that front knee and push into the foot to raise the body up, but we're going to keep that knee bent. Okay, so we're going to come up to this upright position with the torso, so watch for any tendency to lean over towards that front leg. So we're going to open up the space between the thigh and the side of the body here, so we can draw up, and we're going to open ourselves out into Virabhadrasana tree, our warrior 3 pose. Tree, Dwi, warrior 2, excuse me. And then we can play with this, so we can have a little bounce through that front leg, and we can roll the shoulders back, engage the shoulder blades against the back ribs, so they descend, but they also deepen against the ribs, so there's stability there. And deep breaths. And these warrior postures, they're called warrior postures because there's a strength in them, but there's also this steadiness that we would need if we were a warrior. We would want to be clear and steady. So let's see if we can find that sense of steadiness. Okay, we're going to raise our arms up above our head. We're going to interlace our fingers. You can extend your index finger up, so your index fingers are pointing up and the other fingers are interlaced. Tone the belly, lift the chest, lift up into the index fingers so you can really feel that lift up from the feet. Keep extending your front knee forwards, and then we're going to take a little lean back. So we won't move so far back with both arms raised, and we want to keep tone in the belly. We want to keep breath at the center of this, and we want to give to this, surrender to this. Okay, we can come back up to the center. We're going to release our hands, release the fingers, give them a little flutter if you need to. Re-extend that front leg, and then we're going to go back down into our Trikonasana. So when you're ready, again, let that tilt really come from the pelvis so we get that deepening of the hip crease, the front thigh crease, that is. And we come down. And again, we might raise the top arm up. We might wrap the arm behind us and reach towards the thigh of the front leg. You can hook the fingers there or rest the hand on the sacrum. So we have many options available to us. Tone in the belly, lift in the chest. Place your breath at the center of the experience. Place awareness of your breath at the center of your experience. Okay, well done. Now let's bring that top arm down. We'll bend that front knee. We'll use it to get the purchase to come up, but we are going to come all the way up this time. So we're going to lift that front foot, rotate it forwards, and we can take a little step in, have a little shake out. Take a deep breath. That's it. Just enjoy the experience of waking our body up. The experience of bringing awareness to the body. That's what we're really doing here, isn't it? We're bringing awareness to the body. And this is why often when we've moved through a yoga practice and moved the whole of the body, taking awareness around the body, we have that sort of sense of wholeness, a sense of completion. Because often our awareness doesn't always extend, below the neck. We're stuck in our head very commonly. Okay, let's take our brick to the other side. Let's take another generous stride, and we can have the brick behind the left leg. So again, we're going to come into our Uttita Trikonasana. So this is our extended triangle pose. We're going to turn our right toes in. We're going to lift up the heel, and again, we're going to lift and feel like we're extending back to the heel from the ball of the foot, the purchase of the ball of the foot, and placing that down. And we might do that a couple of times. So when we place it, we land the foot, we stabilize the back leg. We turn out the front foot and leg, and we have a heel to instep alignment. And again, we're going to feel, we want this positioning of the torso towards the long side of the mat, but the torso wants to be pulled around with that front leg naturally. That's where it kind of wants to rest because of the turn of the thigh bone in the hip. So we loosen up soft tissue that might be resisting that with a little wiggle through the hips. And then we bring ourselves back to the center and we rise up through the midline, all the way up, you know, like we're a little puppet on a string, and that string is being pulled up through the crown of the head. Okay. Resist the temptation to start singing. I think it's Sandy Shaw, isn't it? Puppet on a string. Okay, we can raise up that lead arm. Okay, that's your left arm lifting. Your right hand can rest on the hip so we can really deepen and lift, feeling the purchase from the feet. There's a little purchase from the hand. We're finding length through the left side of the body and we're breathing into it and giving to it and enjoying that awakening experience of lengthening through the body. And then again, we're going to tip from the pelvis. It's going to turn. We're going to deepen that front thigh crease on the left leg, like it's pushing back towards the back leg. And then we're going to bring our hand either down onto our shin, ankle. Of course, you're welcome to come down much lower if you like. I actually quite like coming to a brick sometimes. I like the difference of sensation of being in contact with the brick. And then we're opening the chest, we're lengthening through the torso. We are reaching into the back foot, and there's a sort of pressure that's applied through the back foot from toes to heel. And again, that back leg is stable. We may raise the top arm up if we wish. You may look up towards the top hand if there's no tension in the neck, but feel free to move your head a little. Feel free to move that top arm a little. Movement can be a great way to release little holdings that get applied through the body that are just sort of like minor tensions in the body. Sometimes the body just goes through a little gripping action and a little bit of movement is enough to create freedom. Okay, again, let's bring that top hand down to the hip. Let's keep some tone in the belly. Let's feel that we reach that thigh bone forwards to bring the knee above its own ankle, and we'll raise the body up. And again, we want to create this space between the thigh and the side of the body. Open it up so we lose that tendency to lean over towards that leg. So we can even, what we can do to assist that is just apply a little bit of pressure into where that crease is on the back thigh, and it can pull us up. Okay, arms out to the side. Virabhadrasana Dvi, warrior two. Okay, release the shoulders down, stabilize your shoulder blades. Just open up your arms a little, keep tone in the belly. Let the breath be steady and easeful and joyful even. You can look over your lead arm if you wish, but you can also look forward. You can play with movement. I can see some nice playing actions going on there, so feel into it. Your body knows. We just have to tune into it. Okay, arms up again. Extend your arms up. Let's bring the hands together. Interlace the fingers except for the index fingers, which we're going to point up. And then we're going to keep that tone in the belly. We're going to keep reaching into the front knee, reaching into the back foot. And we're going to take a little lean away from that front knee. So it won't be a big movement like we get when we release that back arm down in this. That's it. Okay. Let's come back up to the center. Release the arms. Let's press through that front foot. Breathe, and again we're going to bring ourselves down into our Trikonasana so we can extend out that lead arm to encourage this length through the underside of the body. Again, feel this dip of the crease of the thigh there, and then come down. Once more, we can raise the arm up, or we can take the arm back, resting our hand on our sacrum, or even wrapping the hand around. So we might come to hold the thigh. You've got various options and you can just feel into it. There might be movement there. There might be lila, play there. Okay, wonderful. Let's release. If we've wrapped that arm around, we'll bring the arm up, or if it's resting on the hip, we're going to fold ourselves into a downward facing dog from here. So we can bend that front knee, we can lift up the back heel and rotate on the ball of the foot, bringing the arm down, removing your block so you can place both hands to the floor, shoulder width apart, spreading the fingers, middle fingers pointing forwards, and then taking a good generous step back. So I say generous, sometimes people go for this short stride because they want to get the heels down. And that's okay when we're briefly in a downward facing dog to transition into another posture as it's often used. But if we're going to spend some time here exploring it as a posture in its own right, a generous stride is good because that translates into more length in the body. So let's breathe as we deepen our hands into the floor and open the armpits and reach up through the side ribs and draw the top of the thighs back and feel into any responsive movement that might be needed here to offer ourselves into this completely. Remember our intention at the beginning of the practice where we arrived and we chose to commit. So let's keep that commitment going. Okay, let's come on down to hands and knees and pause and release the toes back and play with a little movement as we need to, but we might want to just be still for a moment. But if you want to feel into a little movement through the spine, through the hips, you can have a little roll around here. We may need to move the fingers. So let the breath be steady. Let the breath be heart-centered. So heart-centered breath means that there's a quality of richness to it, that we tune into the nurture of the breath, the nourishment of the breath. Okay, let's take this back into a child's pose so we can have our knees together or apart. We'll have our big toes in towards each other and we'll draw ourselves back. If this is not good for you, you can come down, keeping your hips above your knees, bringing your forearms onto the floor, maybe stacking your arms and resting your head there on your hands, wrists. So there's a little rest-like action here, or any alternative. If you're happy to sit back, let's sit back. And there might be a little movement across your shins here. Feel into that. Breathe into that. Okay. In your own time, we'll bring ourselves back up. So come on up. Okay. We're going to take our legs out in front of us and we might need, almost certainly, most people will need a block to sit on. So we're going to sit, in fact, why don't we all just sit on a block? That makes life simpler. So we're going to come into Dandasana. So we're going to sit on our block. So our stick pose here, our staff pose. We're going to draw our buttock flesh out and back. So we make sure that we have our buttocks fully supported on our block, but our thighs are off the block. So we don't sit too far back. We're going to broaden across the balls of the feet, just reach the heels forwards. So there might be a little sort of subtle walking of the heels forwards And then we can broaden across the feet. So we keep the toes nice and lively. We can feel that we are extending the underside of our feet here. And then we're going to bring our hands down to the floor. So let's just bring our fingertips to the floor wherever they reach in front of us. And then let's just pull the hands back so they rest next to the hips or even slightly back of the hips. Elbows bend as much as they need to. So this is dependent on the length of your arms relative to torso. And then we can deepen through the fingers and we can rise up through the body. We can broaden across the chest. We can deepen the shoulder blades. We can soften the forehead. We can release the jaw. We can bring a little energy up from the feet, through the legs, and up through the torso. And again, we can feel the breath at the center. If there is any movement required, go with it. So if you find sitting and being very still is causing tightness to the lower back, or it's very strong for you in the thighs, and it's okay for it to be very strong, of course. But if you need a little release in it, then take a little gentle movement, but keep reaching up through the body. Rather than simply being an inert stick, we can feel like we're a little stick bobbing on water. Wonderful. We'll ease out of that now and just release and have a little movement through the shoulders, have a little shake out of the legs as you need to. We're going to come off our block and we're going to come down onto our back. Okay, so come on down, and then when we're there, we can bend the knees and place the feet to the floor, having a little bit of space between the buttocks and the heels. So we don't want to position the feet right up against the buttocks. We want to take the feet a little further forward so we can feel that there's a lightness behind the knee, so we're not crushing the calves and the thighs together. We've got a little bit more space at the top of the thighs, at the front thigh area. And the lower back should feel comfortable. You might need to lift your pelvis up and reach it towards your feet and place it back down. So we feel some spaciousness in the lower back. If you have the space to extend your arms fully above your head, extend the arms fully above your head. If there's not quite that much space, if you're close to some furniture, then bend your elbows and just lightly hold your elbows or hold your forearms if you need more space, or bring fingertips together so we can adapt as we need to. Okay, now we're going to draw in. You'll draw in your knee that is closest to the screen towards your chest. We're going to raise the arm that is furthest from the screen, and we're going to let the body lift up, and we're going to feel almost like we hook that arm on the outside of that thigh, like we might do in a revolved standing posture. Now your head can lift, you can turn your head with your chest. If there's any tension there in the neck, you can bring your other hand up to support the head. Okay, let's slowly bring ourselves back down. Take a breath or two here. Move the body in any way you need to here. Watch as the belly softens, watch as the groin area softens, and the facial muscles soften. And then when you're ready, you can draw your other knee in towards your chest. You can lift up your head, lift up the torso. Again, take support if you need to with your hand. And we're going to cross that arm. So we're almost hooking the arm on the outside of the thigh. So we're getting a little twisting action here. Obviously, there's engagement through the belly to support. Okay, let's bring it back down. Take the arms out wide. Feel into any movement. Maybe there's a little gentle rocking across the head to loosen up through the neck. We can now take our knees from side to side, rolling across the soles of the feet to bring out, again, a little gentle twist around the torso, around the waist and the lower back. If you feel the body wants to move into a deeper twist, you're welcome to draw both knees into the chest and take both knees over together to one side and then back into the center and over to the other side. Okay, so when you've moved through those actions a few times, we're going to lay ourselves down in Shavasana. Okay, so in your own time, any movements, and then you lay yourselves down. As always, our Shavasana position is like any of these positions now. Here, 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 all hands resting, but not like this. Take support for the head. If you need support, if your head tips back, you need support. Or if you like a little bit of support, but not too high. We're not trying to extend the back of the neck. We want the back of the neck to feel spacious, open, soft. And then when you're ready, we close our eyes. And we feel into our breath here. We offer ourselves into our breath here. And once again, this can feel like it's an act of devotion. We give our whole being to this, to Shavasana. And when we give our whole being to this, what we experience is a profound release. Because actually, what's happening here in Shavasana is that we're not acting. We're not reaching out. We're not doing. But we are simply being. So we can float on the breath. Simply enjoy the silence and stillness of this. Now some of you are going to need to come out of your Shavasana now if you have time restraints, but if you don't, I recommend that you just stay with it for a little while longer or as long as you have. But if you do need to move, then you can slowly bend your knees, place your feet to the floor, adjusting your pelvis as you need to and breathing as you need to. Maybe some deeper breaths will naturally come here. And then In your own time, you may gently take a little roll onto your right side and pause there. And if you're happy to roll to both sides, you can then roll to your left side, or you can remain where you are. And then in your own time, again, you can bring yourselves up from your side. Maybe there's a little stretch, a little movement as you come up, some deeper breaths, whatever you need. Come on up. We'll close our practice together with a single Om. So let's just bring our hands up to our heart center. Closing the eyes. And then when you're ready, we'll take a deep breath in to prepare. Thank you all very much. Namaste, Namuvaha, reverence to you all. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you this morning. Hope you have a lovely day, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.